Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Worth the risk. Edward Hales, the lord from the 1800s who ruled Hell's Place with an iron fist after making a demon pact for eternal life, always enjoys changing it up every so often. He doesn't always want to kill people, make them disappear, or torment them with other weird and twisted things that would shatter the minds of lesser humans. Sometimes he wants to spread a little joy, hope, and even inspiration. Of course, in its own unique way that could only happen in Hell's Place. Douglas Foster flat out couldn't understand why the hell there was a cute little Yorkshire Terrier pup climbing on top of a cracked brick fence to the left of him. He shook his head. He was sitting, like he always did, every Tuesday evening in his black Land Rover Explorer. He was waiting for his beautiful wife Katrine to finish up with gym class. The two of them would go for a nice dinner, and everything was normal. Except the damn puppy. Like normal, his Land Rover Explorer was perfectly comfortable. The black leather seats still had the wonderful new car smell that he flat out loved. He had some jazzy pop songs playing on the radio, and the car was perfectly mild. Not too hot, not too cold. His Land Rover was perfectly normal. Still, the damn puppy, that looked more like an ungroomed rat, was still walking along the top of the cracked brick fence. Even outside, the Land Rover looked perfectly normal as far as Douglas was concerned. The narrow road had a few deep potholes with white circles round them, just like they had been for the past 3 months because the local council was too lazy to do something about them. He bit his lower lip. There were still plenty of red, white, and black cars of various makes and models lining the narrow road. It was all normal. Even the damn fight for a parking spot tonight had been normal. Why Katrine couldn't go to a bigger gym with an actual car park was beyond him. Even the smallish gym that looked like a bright pink clothing shop tucked between 2 dirty white terraced houses that Hell's Place seemed to import en masse. It was normal. All the way down to its small cracked glass windows where a young kid had probably tried to throw a brick at it a few years ago. Everything was normal. The Yorkie Terrier pup yapped, and Douglas had simply had enough. As much as he knew to just ignore the weird things, pretend they weren't happening, and simply keep himself to himself, because that was the best way to stay alive in Hell's Place, he couldn't take it anymore. He climbed down from his Explorer, went over to the wall, and he smiled at the cute pup wagging its tail at him. Douglas had no idea how to approach wild dogs. If a pup could ever be called wild, he held out his hand like you were meant to do to cats so they could smell you. The little York Terrier smelt him, licked his hand, and Douglas stroked it. He shivered at the wet feeling of the dog licking him. The dog bumped his cold, wet nose into his hand, and Douglas couldn't help smiling. It was only now he realized how much he loved animals. They were amazing, and just so much fun. He realized the dog had a small lead round its neck that went down to the other side of the cracked brick fence. He leant over the fence, hissed at the awful feeling of the lumpy bricks digging into his stomach, and he saw a young homeless man. The man couldn't be any older than 19 years old. He was wearing a black tracksuit and was flicking through a large black rucksack. Douglas tapped him on the shoulder. The young man didn't smell of body odor. He was clean-shaven and he was smiling. "Hi there," the young man said. "Sorry if this is your home. I just wanted to sit down in private and look through my supplies. I'll move, and I promise I didn't damage any plants." Douglas smiled. The young man was so kind, so thoughtful, and he could tell the young man actually did feel bad for causing any potential damage. The Yorkshire Terrier climbed down, leapt onto the young man's head, and the young man scooped him up in his arms. Douglas grinned even more. The pup's tail wagged like mad. The young man's smile reached his eyes, and it was clear as day he really loved that puppy. "This isn't my house, but I wanted to make sure the puppy was okay, Douglas said. Are you okay, and if you don't mind me asking, what happened to you? The young man frowned a little, his body tensed up, and the little pup yapped, and the young man started smiling again. The puppy's fine, thanks, the young man said. I found him about 3 weeks ago, starved, left for dead, and I nursed him back to health within a week. That's great, Douglas said. He shivered a little as a cold breeze brushed past him. The young man didn't seem to notice, and he was glad the cracked brick wall seemed to act as a windbreak. He still didn't like the idea of the young man being out here overnight. The evenings were starting to become colder, the nights were freezing, and this morning he had to scrape the frost off his Land Rover for the first time this winter season. He hated the idea of the young man being out in the freezing cold with a puppy he clearly loved. How did you end up homeless? Douglas asked. The Yorkshire Terrier licked the man's hand, tried to climb up him to provide comfort, but he kept sliding down. My dad lives in Scotland. My mother lived in Canterbury. I was visiting her when I found the puppy. I nursed it back to health, but when it was fine and didn't want to leave me. My mother gave me a choice. Her or the puppy. And you chose the puppy and she kicked you out? Douglas asked. The young man nodded. Yeah, but I hated her anyway. It's why I live with Dad, and why he moved as far away as possible from her. Another ice-cold breeze brushed his cheeks. He shivered, and Douglas really hated the idea of the pup and the young man sleeping outside in the freezing cold. He bit his lower lip. Him and Katrine had been thinking about letting out the spare room for a bit of extra cash. Katrine had always loved lost causes, and it was why she had joined this women's-only gym in Hell's Place. She wanted to support a doomed local business that was struggling to make ends meet. Douglas felt a wave of fear wash over him. This was Hell's Place. The strange former council estate where people died, disappeared, and other twisted and weird things happened to people every day. He didn't know if this young man was actually homeless and innocent, or whether this young man was a demon or creature of Hell's Place doomed to kill him and Katrine. Maybe the Yorkshire Terrier wasn't actually a pup at all. Knowing Hell's Place, it could have been a hellhound for all he knew that would chomp on him and Katrine in their sleep. The young man laughed, cuddled, and stroked his little pup. Douglas bit his lower lip, and he didn't care about Hell's Place. Even if this young man and pup were demons or monsters or hellhounds, he was going to be kind because sometimes kindness was always worth the risk. Especially in a place as evil, twisted, and monstrous as Hell's Place. Come on, Douglas said, offering the young man his hand. You can stay in our spare room for a few nights. The young man smiled, then frowned, and hugged the little pup tighter to protect him. This is Hell's Place, the young man said. How do I know you won't kill me in my sleep? Douglas laughed. I was just panicking about you and your pup doing the same thing to me. The young man laughed, got up, and threw his rucksack on. The little pup jumped at his ankles, so he picked up the puppy too. Douglas turned round and grinned as the most beautiful woman he had ever seen came towards his Land Rover Explorer. Katrine's long black hair was wet with sweat, her fit, sexy body was damp, and like always she had a massive smile on her face. He took the young man over to Katrine. Her eyes widened as soon as she saw the cute pup, the young man needing support, and she didn't need any convincing at all. Katrine hugged him, stroked the cute little puppy, and Douglas was so happy that he was able to help this young, innocent man. What's your name, by the way? Douglas asked. The young man smiled. Edward Hales. Pleasure to meet you, Edward, Douglas said. Get in and let's get you somewhere warm.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteley Verse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.